10 European nations have been put on trial. The charge? Being unfriendly. The verdict comes from thousands of expatriates surveyed by Expat Insider, one of the most important studies on life abroad. This year, they analysed 46 nations, those with the highest concentration of foreign professionals. And, from this global ranking, we extracted the controversial top 10 European countries you are about to see. We must admit, here at Amazing Europe, we are quite puzzled by this verdict, and we will explain why at the end of the video. But if you would also like to see the ranking of the friendliest countries, according to expatriates, type friends in the comments. Welcome to Amazing Europe. Number 10. Poland. Imagine a country with the 8th best transportation system in the world, a booming economy, and enviable safety. This country is Poland, which opens our ranking at number 10. And yet, despite the promise of high living standards, expatriates deliver a harsh verdict on its social sphere, ranking it among the worst in Europe for friendliness. In their accounts, Poland appears as a place of invisible barriers. Online testimonies describe an unbreakable wall between professional cordiality and private life. They speak of impeccable colleagues at the office who, once the workday ends, vanish behind a kind of social firewall, making it nearly impossible to turn an acquaintance into a friendship. The interpretation that emerges is that of a coconut culture, a hard outer shell that does not offer the comfort of polite small talk. For expatriates, this becomes a frustrating experience of perceived coldness, made even harder by an almost insurmountable obstacle: the language. Ranked 41st in difficulty, it is described as the true guardian of local culture, without which newcomers are condemned to remain mere spectators. And yet, the paradox is clear in the data. The same survey praises Poland for its exceptional quality of life, ranking it 17th worldwide. What emerges from expatriates' words is the portrait of a nation that offers almost everything needed to build a career and material well-being, but in exchange seems to leave them facing a social enigma that many never solve. Number 9. United Kingdom. If a country speaks the global language par excellence, shouldn't it be the easiest place to integrate? The data for the United Kingdom, ranked 9th, suggest a shocking and counterintuitive reality. With 39th place in the Finding Friends category, the UK is perceived by expatriates as one of the hardest places in Europe to form authentic connections. Online testimonies describe an almost theatrical paradox. One user writes, "The British will apologise if you bump into them, but they will never ask for your name." The image that emerges is one of a deep divide between formal, omnipresent, impeccable politeness and genuine friendship. Many expatriates report impenetrable social circles forged during school years and a social life revolving around pub culture, where conversations, however cheerful, often fade away with the last pint. To complicate matters further, there is indirect communication, steeped in sarcasm and humour that can be difficult to decipher. This is an aspect of British culture that expatriates struggle to grasp, and therefore to immerse themselves in. And yet, this apparent social fortress is also a global stage for ambition. The survey places the United Kingdom in an excellent 14th position for career prospects. Thus emerges the portrait of a nation that attracts the best talents in the world, offering them immense professional opportunities. But, at least according to expatriates, the real climb is not the professional one, but the social one, in a world ruled by rules that are as elegant as they are invisible. Number 8. Czech Republic. Here we encounter perhaps the most puzzling paradox of our entire ranking. In 8th place we find the Czech Republic, which plunges to 45th out of 46 in the subcategory dedicated to friendliness, almost at the very bottom worldwide. Expat testimonies describe a culture that rejects what they perceive as the theatre of courtesy. A waiter's smile is not part of a script to earn a tip, but a rare expression of genuine good mood. A "how are you" is not a throwaway opener, but the start of a real dialogue. This rejection of formality, seen through foreign eyes, is often translated into an experience of icy coldness. And here emerges a fact that defies logic. Despite the perceived distance, the survey suggests that making friends here is easier than in many other countries on this list. The testimonies indicate that Czech friendship does not start on the street, but is forged through shared activities. You join a sports club or a hobby group, and you are gradually accepted into a solid and loyal social circle. But the real surprise is what this country offers beyond the social sphere. This is confirmed by an Italian expat quoted in the report, who praises the country for its quality of life, career opportunities, and safety. The data strongly support this view, second place worldwide for transport and 8th for safety. The portrait that emerges is that of a nation with an austere and impenetrable facade, yet one that hides one of the safest and most functional societies on the planet. Number 7. Switzerland. In 7th place, we find the nation that embodies the ultimate paradox. Welcome to Switzerland, the second safest country in the world and the one with the second best environmental quality, at least according to Expat Insider. Yet, in this paradise of efficiency and nature, expats report a major challenge, ranking it 41st out of 46 for difficulty in making friends. Why? Testimonies, even from Swiss people moving between different cantons, describe a culture governed by rules, both written and invisible. This manifests itself in a clear separation between the public sphere, polite but formal, and the private sphere, which seems to be heavily protected. Social life is not spontaneous, it is structured. Locals themselves confirm this on various forums. Friendship in Switzerland is built almost exclusively through or club life. The underlying idea is that a true bond is based on shared interests and mutual trust, not on casual conversations in a bar. It is a society where privacy is sacred, and circles of friends, often formed since childhood, are seen as nearly impregnable fortresses. A recurring online comment says, "You can be a Swiss person's neighbour for 20 years, greet them every day, and never once cross their threshold." Being invited to dinner is a milestone that may take years to achieve, but for those who accept this pace, the reward is immense. We are talking about a nation with extremely high salaries and economic stability that is almost unmatched. All this, combined with a level of functionality that makes daily life calm and stress-free. Number 6. Denmark. Here we are at 6th place, where the global reputation of a country collides with the harsh verdict of expats. We are talking about Denmark, universally known as one of the happiest nations in the world. Yet, according to those who move there, this happiness is an exclusive club. The survey delivers a brutal verdict, 43rd out of 46 for difficulty in making friends, one of the worst performances in Europe. In their testimonies, expats describe a culture where friendship is not something that simply arises, but something methodically built within closed social circles. And the famous concept of hygge, that ideal of intimacy, comfort, and candlelit well-being, is not described as a warm invitation, but as an invisible wall. It is an atmosphere of total trust, they explain, a magic circle reserved exclusively for family and lifelong friends. As a result, the most common feeling reported by foreigners is that of watching other people's happiness through a window without ever receiving the key to step inside. This perception of isolation is so strong that it overturns the statistics. Expats in Denmark rank only 31st worldwide for overall happiness. However, if the door to social life seems firmly closed, the one to professional life is wide open, with 2nd place globally for work culture and 3rd for safety. The picture that emerges from expat accounts is that of an almost perfect society for career development, but one that socially leaves them with the constant sensation of being tolerated outsiders, never truly included. Number 5. Austria. In 5th place, we find a nation whose capital, Vienna, is crowned almost every year as the city with the best quality of life in the world. Yet, for expats, this flawless quality of life appears to come at a very high social cost. The Expat Insider survey condemns Austria with a devastating 44th place for the friendliness of its people, one of the worst global results. Online testimonies describe a glacial social atmosphere where formality reigns supreme and private life is a fortress. Many foreigners recount that only after years did they come to understand the local cultural codes, realizing that what they perceived as hostility was in fact grantlertum, a kind of almost performative grumpiness, an art of complaining that is part of Viennese identity. On top of this comes another nearly insurmountable barrier, the Wiener Schmäh. It is not simple sarcasm. It is a complex, often dark and double-edged humour that plays with words to communicate the opposite of what is being said. For a non-native, it is a minefield. A phrase that seems kind may actually be a veiled critique, and vice versa. Even Austrians themselves admit in various forums that their circles of friends are extremely closed, often limited to a few people they have known all their lives. And yet, the contrast with objective data is striking. The same survey celebrates Austria with 4th place worldwide for quality of life. The portrait that emerges from expat testimonies is that of a place offering an almost perfect existence from a functional perspective, but one that leaves you admiring its perfection in splendid, impeccably polite solitude. Number 4. Sweden. In 4th place, we find the ground zero of loneliness for expats, at least according to them. Sweden is not only near the bottom of the ranking, it is the country that, according to the Expat Insider survey, ranks last in the world for difficulty in making friends. 46th out of 46. This is not an opinion, it is a statistical verdict. Online testimonials from both foreigners and Swedes themselves paint an almost surreal picture. A Swede candidly admitted in a forum, "We do not talk to strangers, ever. Friendships are formed if you share an activity, maybe after 2 years. This social system is so structured and planned that the idea of an impromptu beer is almost science fiction. Social life is scheduled weeks in advance. The culture of lagom, the right balance, avoiding excesses, translates into a reserve that expats describe as a wall of ice. They recount neighbours avoiding eye contact in the hallway to avoid having to say hello, and colleagues who are kind but keep an unbreakable distance." But what does Sweden offer in return for this perceived isolation? It offers an oasis. It ranks first overall for environmental quality and climate. It boasts the 9th best working environment in the world and a hyper-digitalised, highly functional society. From the words of expats emerges the portrait of a nation that seems to have traded the warmth of spontaneous human interactions for the perfection of an efficient system and pristine nature. Let us remind you, however, that these are not our personal judgments. We are simply presenting the data that emerged from the Internations study. Stay with us until the end of the video to also hear our personal considerations. Number 3. Germany. In 3rd place, we find Europe's economic engine, a nation that offers almost legendary stability. But according to expats, this stability comes at a very high price, both socially and logistically. Germany is not only ranked near the bottom in terms of friendliness, it plummets to last place worldwide, 46th out of 46, in the category Essential Services. It is a verdict without appeal. Expats describe a bureaucratic and analogue nightmare, a digital desert where paying by card is still a luxury, and public offices require mountains of paperwork. The official report confirms this with the direct testimony of an expat who stated, "Dealing with public and other offices is too complicated and involves unreasonable paperwork and delays." On the social front, the picture is equally bleak for outsiders. Testimonials describe a culture of directheit, a direct, unfiltered honesty where a no is simply a no, without excuses or softening, an approach almost always perceived as sheer rudeness. Locals themselves admit that making friends as an adult is nearly impossible outside of the Vereine, clubs based on shared hobbies. So why move there? The answer lies in its strength, work. With a solid 22nd place in the working abroad category, Germany proves to be a place people go to build a career. The message expats say they receive is clear. You are here to produce, not to socialise, and you will have to face our bureaucracy to do so. Number 2. Finland. In 2nd place, we find a nation that, according to expat data, represents the pinnacle of social and professional isolation. Welcome to Finland, a country that the Expat Insider survey places not only second to last worldwide for difficulty in making friends, but also dead last for career prospects. It is a devastating double blow. Online testimonials depict a culture that worships silence. One foreigner recounts, "I thought my colleague hated me because he never spoke. Then I realised he simply saw no need to say unnecessary things." The Finns themselves, with great self-irony, confirm this perception. A local saying goes, "An introverted Finn looks at his own shoes when talking to you. An extroverted Finn looks at your shoes." Concepts like kalsarikanit, drinking at home alone in your underwear, are not just memes. They are the expression of a social life experienced as a private and introspective activity, not a public one. This deep reserve is cemented by sisu, a national concept of stoic grit and perseverance in the face of adversity, which manifests itself in an almost unshakable outward calm. This creates an environment that expats describe as impenetrable. But what does Finland offer in return for this perceived solitude? It offers a sanctuary of order and nature. It is the 5th most digitalized society in the world and ranks 6th for environmental quality. The portrait that emerges from the words of expats is that of an ultra-functional refuge for the introverted soul, a nation that guarantees peace and tranquility, but asks in return that you accept its silent conditions. Before revealing number 1 and sharing our personal reflections, if you found this video informative, we kindly ask you to support our project with a like, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so you do not miss our new videos. And if you want to know the ranking of the friendliest European countries according to expats, type friends in the comments. We also remind you of our new channel, America vs Europe, where we compare all European countries, the United States and Canada, across various aspects. Number 1. Norway. Norwegians are very reserved, so it is very difficult to make friends. But once you succeed, they are friends for life. This is the testimony of a British expat who, in the Expat Insider report, captures the essence of the nation at the top of our ranking, and perhaps not only of this one. Norway is perceived as the most impenetrable country in Europe, with a catastrophic 45th place out of 46 in the Adaptation Index, second in the world, only to Kuwait. The quote is not an isolated opinion. It is the common thread of countless accounts. Foreigners describe a culture where privacy is not just appreciated, it is the foundation of society. Spontaneous socializing, so widespread in many of the countries of origin of the interviewed expats, hardly exists in Norway. The key, as Norwegians themselves explain, is not conversation, but action. Friendship is built through shared experiences, often in nature. It is a bond forged in silence on a mountain trail or after an entire season spent on the same sports team, not over a coffee. It is a system that rewards perseverance, not extroversion. But what reward awaits those who manage to decode this demanding social code? The answer is a professional environment that is a model for the entire world. Norway ranks 5th worldwide for work-life balance and 8th for work culture. The final picture is that of a nation that offers an almost unrivaled quality of professional life and unshakable loyalty, but that asks in return that you overcome the wall of its deep and silent reserve. After analysing this ranking, it is time for our reflections, the moment to explain why, as mentioned in the title, we do not agree with the label unfriendly. We have seen some clear patterns emerge. Most of these nations are located in Northern and Central Europe, and almost all share similar cultural traits: a deep sense of reserve, direct communication, and a sharp separation between the public and private spheres. And we believe this is the key to everything. We do not consider these nations unfriendly, but rather countries with social codes and interaction rituals that are profoundly different from those many expats are used to, perhaps coming from more Latin or non-European cultures. In the countries featured in this ranking, reserve is often not a form of coldness, but a form of respect for other people's space. Friendship does not arise from casual conversation, but is slowly built through the sharing of activities and common passions, eventually becoming an incredibly strong and loyal bond. What a foreigner might perceive as coldness is, for a local, simply reserve, honesty, and a rejection of superficiality. In fact, in our research, we often found testimonials from foreigners who, although they initially struggled to make friends with locals, once they succeeded, discovered that these were bonds meant to last a lifetime. Of course, this is only our interpretation of the data, an attempt to give cultural context to perceptions that are and remain real for those who experience them. But now it is over to you. Do you agree with this interpretation? Have you lived in one of these countries? Was your experience like this, or completely different? And for those living in these nations, do you agree with the way expats see your country? Share your stories in the comments. And since we also talked about some Nordic countries, we truly recommend you watch this video where we compare Norway, Sweden and Finland in detail across different aspects to see which nation comes out on top and which falls behind. That's all for this video. See you next time.